Hello, what is up? My name is John Farrell. Welcome to Farrell Swim Tech. This is the live streamed swim. Oh man, I'm sorry. It's 5:15 in the morning. I do apologize. My brain isn't firing on everything. This is Farrell Swim Tech. This is the swim series that I teach you how to swim faster. This is live streamed to Team Zoot's Facebook book, and I also record it for posting on my own personal YouTube channel, youtube.com/thefarrell1. It's just the email, pretty much the Farrell as you see in the email, then just add the number 1. Speaking of my email, I have my email there just in case you want to have any questions answered about swimming. I do this as a free service to Team Zoot because, number 1, they're awesome. I have a lot of fun being on their team. And number 2, they give me a platform. I'll take it and talk about swimming anytime. So yeah, if you have any questions about swimming, gear, whatever, check it out down there. At the time of this recording, I have actually acquired a pair of Magic 5 goggles. They are in the factory, in theory, right now being made. So when they ship them over to me, I am going to... I'm sorry, expect some yawning. I can't control it. Expect a product review of the Magic 5 goggles. I'm going to see... and I bought them with Team Zoot's discount code, so I did not spend the full $70 on them. But we'll see if they're everything they're hyped up to me. They claim to be leak-proof. They claim to be the most comfortable goggles you've ever worn, because they use face mapping technology to custom make the goggles to fit your face exactly. We'll see how that all goes. I'm going to do a full episode as a product review on that. Yeah. So that'll probably be within the next 2 weeks or so. I want to get a couple workouts in with them before I really review them. I don't want to just be like, oh, here's my brand new goggles. Whoop. Yeah, no. Okay, so today, let's get into the episode. Let's get into the content. Remember, if you have any questions whatsoever, if you are in chat, just type in chat, type away. I'm used to this live stream format, so whatever questions you have, any questions on topic, just ask them in chat. So today we're going to talk about how do you set your goal pace and how do you quell race day jitters. We're going to start with setting your goal pace. Because a lot of people, because it's really easy to track FTP, it's really easy to track your running times, it's easy to set a goal time in running. In swimming, it's a little harder to do that because, number 1, pool water versus open water. Number 2, you don't have any real data available to you in real time on race day. Now those of you that come from a running and a cycling background, you're going to find this really disconcerting. There's no real-time data available to you on the swim. I've tried checking my watch on the swim. It doesn't work. You have to go like, okay, and then you keep swimming. It doesn't work. It doesn't work. So how do you keep track of what your pace is during the swim? You do it by muscle memory. That's the only way you can really do it. Back in my pool days, we would set it up with our coach, assistant coach, friend. We would tell our friend, we would tell a buddy, okay, I want to maintain this time. I want to maintain these splits. So then the coach, so then if there are 3 swimmers in the pool, each swimmer would have a coach, or a coach would recruit a guy, and then they would give you hand signals. So they would go, okay, you're on pace, little further, got to go faster, slow down. So you would have hand signals that you would use with your coach in order to understand what your pace is at, just so you go your target pace and you don't blow yourself up at the end of the race, or you don't go too slow and you completely sandbag it at the end of the race. Because you're so far behind, you got so much to catch up, you wind up blowing yourself up at the end. There's a lot of race strategies involved in distance swimming in pools. Unfortunately, when you're out in the open water, you don't really have such gear. You got the Form goggles. There's a couple different competitors to it now. Now, the one thing is, I don't know if they're 100% race legal. I would imagine they are race legal, but quite frankly, they're kind of bulky. I don't necessarily know if that would be a good idea to race in Form goggles. Now, let's talk about that, and we can talk how the tech can come in and help you out understand what your race pace should be. I hate to break it to you, you're gonna have to rely on your muscle perception. I knew the term for it. I'm totally blanking on it now. I'm blaming the early morning start. But the idea is you need to simply know what your race pace is by your swim stroke. Okay. Now I'm here to help you understand what that is. How do you know? How do you drill that into your body? Well, number one, if you're really serious about getting better at swimming, you gotta swim at least 3 times a week. You have to. If you want to get better at swimming, you simply have to spend more time in the pool. The one thing you gotta understand about swimming, as opposed to running and cycling, you need to spend more time in the pool if you want to get better. The old adage we had during swimming was each day you're out of the pool, you need 3 more days in the pool to catch up. Why? You don't live in water. You don't exist in water. Water is very foreign. So you spend less time in the pool, you spend less time developing those muscles, you spend less time getting that drilled into your head. If you really want to up your race pace, highly recommended you spend at least 3 workouts in the pool. Sorry, got early morning gunk in my throat. So look to spend 3 days a week in the pool. Now, this idea of should I always train slow? Should I always train fast? The L2, the zone 2 training method, polarized training method, I think that's what they call it. In swimming, we can kind of throw that out the window a little bit, mainly because the buoyancy of the water actually reduces the stress you obtain in the water by, I've heard it's up to a third. So you can actually go harder, longer in the pool and still have the zone 2 effect. Now, this is from my own experience where I've had really hard workouts over the past couple of weeks. I've had like 2 specific workouts that were really hard. And one of the ones that was really hard, I logged everything on my Garmin watch, and it claims I was at an aerobic heart rate, even though I was really pushing myself. We did a couple strings of really hard 100s. I was really pushing myself on those hundreds. I was going sub-minute per 100 hundreds. I did 4 of them with only, I did 4 of them with like about 2 minutes rest. I did 4 hundreds under the 50, which for me is pretty good. Not having been in the water for a really long time. And I know my heart rate got up a lot, and I know my heart rate was up for a fair amount of the other sets, but yet it claimed it was only aerobic. So now that could be inaccuracies of getting heart rate underwater and whatnot, but according to the watch, it was still aerobic. So you can afford to push yourself harder more often in the water in swimming. You really don't want to spend too much time just puddling around, because you really need to learn how to develop this race pace. Now, what do we do to develop a race pace? Now, if you don't have a lot of race day data, it's hard to really determine what that is. So if you have race day data and you see that on your last Ironman or your last half Ironman, you were going, let's just say for ease of discussion, you go 130s, okay? You go 130s per 100, okay? It could be, and you're just looking at your straight average as a 130. Now, what you need to do is you need to look at that 130 and you need to have a legit discussion with yourself. How did I feel during that race? How you take yourself through that race and say, okay, did I feel like I went really fast at the beginning and I died at the end? Or I took it out really easy and I came out strong at the end? Or did I kind of just maintain the same pace the entire time? Those are realistically, unless you have really dialed in race strategies, those are going to be your three options. You go out fast and you die in the end. You go out slow and you're really, really fast at the end. Or you just kind of picked the pace and just went with it. Now, to be brutally honest, I go about, like, if I'm swimming, because I got an Olympic coming up. I got a sprint coming up next month. It's in a pool. I'm going pool mode. I'm going to go hard. I'm going to go hard off the walls. And then, yeah, because it's a 50-meter pool. This is my playground. I'm totally going to just rock this thing. But I have an Olympic coming up where it's an open water mile swim. So how am I going to approach this? Well, it's about 100 yards, left turn, and then a J-hook, long J-hook, and then a U-turn. So typically what I would do is I would go out fast for the 100, not fast, but really strong for the 100, make that turn, and then I would shift into my distance per stroke gear. So nice long strokes, just get around the curve, do the U-turn, go fast for about 100, and then pop into the long distance thing, and then get back to the dock, increase the leg speed a little bit, get the blood really flowing in the legs, and then get out, get to transition. That's pretty much going to be the course. That's going to be my race strategy. So for you, though, you're going to want to pick a pace time. So let's say you did the 130 per 100 and you feel like I felt like garbage at the end of that swim. You got to ask yourself honestly, did you really go hard on that first section of the swim? Because usually if you're not prepared for it, it's that opening sprint that will kill you. Reason why is you spike the lactate and people are like, oh, well, you could flush it out of your system. No. Unless that beginning burst is controlled, you're going to spike your lactic acid level way too high. And we'll kind of talk about this more in the race strategies portion of the stream, but you need to control that initial burst. I know you're going to, most of the time, we're in a big crowd of people. You got the adrenaline pumping. You're ready to go. You got to learn how to control that. Now, let's say you do the 130. Your pace shows a 130, but you know you can get faster. All right. No, you know what? Let's shift it to 2 minutes. Let's make it more realistic for people that are going to really need this. Let's say you're 2 minutes. Okay, you're 2 minutes per 100 for your swim for the half Ironman distance. What do you do to get faster? Okay, so if your race pace is at 2 minutes and you want to get faster, you need to set your race pace faster than that. Number one, obviously, as always, technique. Work on your technique. Use a lot of time of your workout, especially if you're at the 2 minute mark. Use a lot of time to work on technique. Work on specifically how to grab more water with your arm. So then after that, you want to say, okay, I'm going to shoot. I was at 2 minutes per 100. I'm going to shoot for 155s per 100. Okay, it's only 5 more seconds per 100. Realistically, that's maybe you're swimming a quarter to a half a pool. Your pace is going to finish, and you'll be maybe about a quarter pool behind. So that's really not much territory. 5 seconds, 5 second increment drops are really, really good per 100. Because, like I said, realistically, that's not that much time. 5 second drop, especially when you're at the 2 minute range. 5 second drops, completely obtainable. If you're at the 120 mark, 5-second drops, you're going to fight. When you're about at the 120 mark, you're going to fight for those 5-second drops. When you're up at the 2-minute range, 5-second drops can completely come very quickly. So what you're going to do is you're going to set your goal pace 100 time per 100 while you do your sets, okay? You may have sets where you're doing 100s with 30 seconds rest, okay? Realistically, you need to start setting time standards. I don't like the idea of, okay, just rest 30 seconds. That works if you don't really have a pace clock. Number one, you want to understand your paces better, get a pace clock. You can find ones for pretty cheap on Amazon. You just need something that'll count the seconds and count the minutes. It can go up to like 99 minutes or something like that. 1 second. Sorry. So get a pace clock. Get a pace clock, put it next to your lane. Using your watch can work, but having an actual physical clock there makes your life a bit easier. So set it, get a pace clock, and do your sets based on an actual time standard, okay? You want to do something based off something that's cyclical, that you are holding yourself accountable. I will leave at this point on the clock. I will get back at this point on the clock. And then do the math, figure out your splits. So let's say you're shooting for a 155 pace. 155 pace, if you go 30 seconds rest, you're going to be on the 225, okay? Leave on the 230. Just do your hundreds on the 230. Make them on the 55, okay? Now, if you want them on the 55 and you want to shorten that rest period, do them on the 215. So the 215, you're getting about 20 seconds rest now instead of about 35 seconds of rest. So this is how you want to do it. You want to shift your focus from that's number one. Don't just go 30 seconds rest. Don't just go 20 seconds rest. Actually have legitimate times that you're shooting for. Go on the 215, aim for the 155. And work on being very consistent at hitting that 155, okay? That's number one. Change your workout mentality from just X seconds rest to actual time splits. So like I said, all you do is figure out what your goal pace is, add 30 seconds to that. That's going to be your time standard, or 45 seconds onto that, whatever your rest periods are. Okay, number two, you need to better dial in what you're capable of in terms of a race pace. Now, this one's going to take a little bit of work, and quite frankly, this will probably take up a whole workout in order to really do this properly. So, now, if I were to do this, this is what I would do. I would warm up, have a good solid warm up, have a little pull set, little kick set, maybe 2 300-yard kick set, 2 300-yard pull set, and then we'll get into our main set. So what our main set's going to be is we're going to do 25s of build 25s, where you're going to start at a very comfortable pace and you're going to slowly get faster. Okay, you're going to get faster about every 3 to 4 strokes over the course of the 25. Now, you are not to be sprinting at the end of the first one. You are very slowly getting faster. Now, why is this? What we're doing with these build 25s is we are determining a uncomfortable pace. All right? We want to find a pace that's uncomfortable. Now, remember, this is for people that really, really, really want to get better at swimming. If you're just comfortable with swimming what you are and you're a beast on the bike and the run, this not necessarily is for you. But if you really want to, if you feel like your swim pace is just abysmally slow and you want to get better, this is my method of how to do it. And once again, I would love to have some crowdsourcing on this. If anyone that watches the video, if you can report back to me, either DMs or emails, I would greatly appreciate it. Let's see here. On a 3,500 yard workout, how many yards would you spend doing drills slash technique work? Well, to be brutally honest, I do not set my own workouts. I personally work out with a club team. This is a team that's coached by my high school coach. And I usually get in about 2,000 yards of workout. But if I'm in theory crafting land and I would do a 3,500 yard workout, I would probably, because that's about what my workouts used to be. When I was in club. When I was in college, we swam about 6,000 to 7,000 yard workouts. But if I was doing a 3,500 yard workout, I would probably spend around 500 to 1,000 yards of that. Between 500 and 1,000 yards on drill, or on drills technique. I was adding kick and pull. I would spend about 500 yards of that on technique, and I would front load that to the beginning of your session, because I would use that 3,500 yards to really hyper focus on one or two things. That's it. Don't overload yourself with techniques. Don't overload yourself on drills. In terms of how many things you're working on at the same time. Like, for instance, for this next week, what I would recommend you work on is simply recovering with your palm towards the inside. So then you can grab the water better and get your elbow out and start pulling. So essentially what you're doing with those 500 yards is you're going to maybe do 200 yards focused on 200 yards with drills focused on that one thing. For me, I would do fingertip drag, and then get right here, or fingertip drag however far out your hand needs to be. I would do fingertip drag, place it on the water, and then pull back. That would probably be the drill that I would do if I'm focusing on that. And then I would do that for 450s, and then, or 425s, and then I would go, 450s. I'd actually do 450s of fingertip drag. And then I would do 450 single arm pull. And what I would focus on is putting my face in the water. And when my hand gets here, make sure that hand goes underneath my body. That's what I would, and then I would do that for 4 more 50s. So that's 400 yards. And then I would spend 100 yards just swimming, normal swimming, and then be hyper focused on those items. Just hyper focused. That's all I would care about. I wouldn't care about how many times I breathe. Wouldn't care about my kick. But I would focus on each stroke, making sure that technique is absolutely right, and then you're going to get into your main set. So that's what I would do personally if I was really focusing on my swim technique. Okay, so now back to our discussion about determining what our ideal race pace is. So most people don't really know how far they can push their body in the water. Now, whether this is due to mental blocks, technical inaccuracy, or technical issues with their stroke, very, very few people can know how far they can push their body in the water. When I work with high schoolers, especially sprinters, I always see that their kick is extremely deficient. They do not kick near as fast as they think they can. So what I do is I do this set with them where I have them kicking on the wall, and then I incrementally tell them to kick faster. So they hold on the wall, they're kicking with their hands on the wall, and I tell them faster, 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 faster. And I was like, and each time I tell you to go faster, you will go faster, or I will berate you like no other. I am going full boot camp on this. I will make you kick faster. So then I finish it up, and then I have a discussion with them. I was like, okay, how many of you kicked faster than you've ever kicked before? Almost all of them raised their hands. I was like, okay, now what we're going to do is we're going to do a 25 sprint, and I want you to use those legs. Those are the legs I want you to use to sprint. They sprint for a 25, and almost always they say, wow, That was faster than I've ever sprinted before. I was like, okay, that's your start. That's what you do during workouts. When coach tells you to sprint, use those legs and use the power in your arms in order to make yourself go faster. So then that gives them a launching point on the sprints. How do we do that with distance? Build. We want to build a bunch of 25s. I'm guessing you're probably going to get through at least 4 25s. 4, 5, 6 25s. And what you're going to do is you're going to start very easy. Start building up, finish the 25. Remember where you were. Start there. Build the next 25, stop at the wall. So you're going to repeat this process until you get to the point where you are slightly uncomfortable. Like in terms of your body is uncomfortable maintaining that speed. All right? So what you want to do then is you then want to use that uncomfortable point as your training goal. Okay? So you want to remember that intensity. Then what you want to do is you want to swim 100, loosen up a little bit more. Then you're going to start into a main set. What you're going to do is you're going to swim 5 100s. You only want 10 seconds rest after each 100. Now, this is the key. You only want 10 seconds rest per 100, and what you're going to do is you're going to swim at that intensity during the 100. You're going to swim it. You're going to swim at that intensity. Check your time. Check your time. You want to check your time because that is going to hopefully be your new pace. Now, check your time over the 5 100s. You're not going to get a lot of rest on these. You're going to be pushing yourself. How did you feel at the final 100? Like, for instance, right now I'm working with a high schooler. She's a sophomore in high school. And last season, what happened was she was a 500 swimmer. She never really swam distance that much before. But usually what happens with club swimmers is they throw them into the distance events just because they have the cardio to be able to handle it. So she doesn't have any race strategies for distance. So what she told me was she would always go out super fast on the first 100, and she would just die on the final 100. Like her first 100 and her final 100 are legitimately like 5, 6, 7 seconds slower. Her last 100 is about 5, 6, 7 seconds slower than her first 100. I was like, okay, we need to develop a new race pace for you. We need to develop something. So what I had her do was I had her do this, okay? But what I did though, I did this a little differently. I didn't do the 1 second. I didn't have her do the builds because I already kind of knew what she was capable of. So I had her swim 5 100s with very little rest. It was about 10, 15 seconds rest for her. And she went out really fast on the first one. She went like 120 on the first one. It was like 120, 124, 128, 128, and then 124, I think. So I told her, I was like, okay, the 120 killed you. Going on the 120, that's what killed you. You went way too fast on that first one. You put yourself in oxygen deficit way too fast. And then, your back 4 100 suffered. So what I told her to do was I was like, okay, your new goal is going 123 per 100. You want 123 per 100. So what we're going to do is we're going to start trying to average these things out. We're going to try and average these out, and then we're going to learn how to get faster from there. So that's how I'm working that out with her. So now for you, what you want to do is you want to build until you understand what that uncomfortable point is, and you want to swim those 5 100s uncomfortable. Now, you're going to say, oh, well, I don't want to swim a full 4,000 yards uncomfortable. Just hold it here. Hold it here. What we need to do is we need to determine what your 100 rate, what your 100 paces should be. Now, this is going to be your 100 pace, probably Olympic and lower. I would say even half Ironman and lower, because realistically, half Ironman's only 400 more yards. it's not that much of a difference. The half Ironman and the Olympic distance, the swim distance is not that much. Once you get over a mile, you can do that extra 400 yards easy peasy. If you find a good pace, going an extra 400 yards is not going to be that big of a deal. So realistically, I would say this would be your pace for half Ironman and below. For your full Ironman, you're going to want to add maybe, I would say add 5 seconds to that, because that'll take a fair amount of load off your body, and you should be just fine swimming the 4,000 yards at that pace. But you want to start with uncomfortable. So do the uncomfortable for the 5-100. See how you feel. How did your times fare? Was your times even, or did it start out fast and then get slower? And then you got to be real with yourself. Did you maintain that pace per the 100? Did you go faster on the first 100? Did you not go faster on the first 100? You got to do a lot of introspective work here. You got to figure out what your body is actually doing. So then you're going to check that pace. So you're going to use that pace to start training. That's what you want to start training at. You want to build your workouts around that. So build it around there. And what you want to do is you want to vary the rest that you're getting, okay? Unless you're specifically swimming slow. If you're going like an easy 100, don't worry about that pace. But if you're going, your main set is 10 100s, and you don't have specific, this one fast, this one easy. Even if you're going ones that are fast, you want to try to maintain that pace throughout the rest of them. You want to go like let's say you're going 8 100s, every fourth one is fast, okay? 1, 2, 3 are going to be at that pace. Number 4 is going to be fast. And then you're going to get back to that pace, 1, 2, 3, and then 4 is going to be fast. So that should give you an idea of what to do. Now, if you want to get your pace faster, set your pace faster on the pace clock, okay? If you want your pace to be 155, shoot for 150s. Shoot for faster than what you think is necessary. That's pretty much how to do it. It may have been a little jumbled. I do apologize. Like I said, it is pretty early in the morning, and this is the only time I can do this. Any additional questions, theferrel@gmail.com, or leave a comment here, leave a comment on YouTube, like and subscribe, all that good jazz. Okay, so last thing we're going to talk about today is race day jitters. How do you get over race day jitters? Lots of people, especially if you don't have a heavy competitive background, they get jittery on race day. You get the adrenaline flowing. You're getting really excited for your race. Okay, number one, you need to practice racing. You got to practice racing, okay? Racing is like we would swim a lot of meets as kids. Most of them would be just kind of a practice meets. In terms of we would go there, we would do our best. We weren't really shooting for best times. We would go, learn how to race, learn how to get on the blocks, learn how to get yourself ready for your race, warm up, warm down, stand up, sit down, fight. So in terms of us as thank you, Katrina. Very nice. So in terms of actually getting ready for race day, and the reason why I talk about this is because the swim is first. About 99% of your triathlons, the swim is going to be first. So we need to learn how to get ourselves ready to get in that water and get swimming. Realistically, if you can, try and get in the water and swim a little bit. Don't really focus too much on technique. Don't focus too much on stuff. Realistically, if you're at the point where your race jitters really get the best of you, just get in and get comfortable. Just get used to the water temperature, get used to the comfort in the water, swim out about 100 yards, swim back about 100 yards, nice and easy. Just get comfortable in the water. Most of the problems I see are due to people having anxiety/panic attacks, because of swimming in open water. Take some time at the beginning of the race to get used to the open water. Swim out 100 yards, float around a little bit, put your face in the water, look around underwater. 90% of the time, you're going to see Jack Diddley squat underwater, but pretend you're snorkeling in the Cayman Islands or something. Just get comfortable in the water. Number one, first and foremost, be very comfortable in the water. Number two, spend some time trying to sit down. Don't spend all that time walking. If you get cramps, especially in your calves, get cramps in your feet, get cramps in your hamstrings and your quads. If you get leg cramps during your races, there's a good chance you're overexerting yourself before your race. And I get it. Setting up for triathlon, especially if you're setting up your gear in transition the morning of, you're going to be walking around a lot. You got to take it easy. Walk slow, be comfortable, get there with plenty of time to get set up. Don't get to the race 10 minutes before transition closes and expect, oh crap, I'm running around everywhere. You're getting your heart rate up. You're hurting yourself doing that. Okay, get to the race, plenty of time. Sacrifice a little bit of sleep. Go to sleep a little bit earlier the night before. Get to the race and be comfortable and relaxed at the race. Okay, next, at the starting line, what do you do? At the starting line, be prepared, be aware of your surroundings, but honestly, relax. Relaxingly go over your race stuff for the day. How are you going to get in? How are you going to race? How are you going to get out? Transition, just casually think about these things. Don't stress over it, okay? If you've trained well enough, if you've practiced well enough, you'll be fine. Which then brings me to my next point, is practice and train for what you're going to do on race day. Especially if you have a race that you're really, really shooting for. Like let's say you have Ironman Coeur d'Alene is going to be your race for the year. So a couple days out, what you want to do is you want to do some visualization exercises. Back when I was in high school, we would turn on Top Gun and that guitar, and we would sit and we would visualize driving to the pool, getting out, getting changed, getting in for warm-up, getting out, getting our race gear on, waiting for our event, warm-ups, talk to the coach, get behind the blocks. We would step through our entire race day in our minds back on the pool deck at our home pool. So doing visualization exercises really helps you out, because then you cement a routine in your head, and all you got to do, you have the routine, execute that routine. So for instance, you're going to be at the starting line. If you're a strong swimmer, you're going to be at the front of the line. If you're not a strong swimmer, be at the back of the line. Visualize how that first 100 yards is going to go. What's the race course? Does it have a couple turns in it? Where are the turns? Look at the course map. Are there buoys that you're sighting? Because I remember my first real open water race was in Malibu. I looked at that course map. They said there are 5 buoys and then a green buoy. So I said, okay, I'm going to go out to the first buoy, make a right turn, swim 5 buoys, get to the green buoy, right turn. Right turn around that buoy, head back to the beach. That was my race. Know exactly what your course is. Have ideas in mind of what you're going to do at certain parts of the course. Your first 100, you're going to be strong. You're going to get out there. Then after about that first 100, you're going to click into your distance gear. And then you're going to go distance gear until you're around the corner. Blah, blah, blah. So, one second. So visualize your race. So when you get there on race day, you're going to take one last mental run through your race, and then you're going to be ready to go. So then next is understand where you should be in the pecking order on the starting line. That's one of the things I covered in the visualization thing. Do you want to be out in front, or do you want to be back in the back? There is absolutely no shame in being in the back, because realistically, I made this mistake back in February. I did the Triton Man Draft Legal Sprint, Triton Man Draft Legal back in February. Swimming with a bunch of college kids. I was thinking, okay, these guys, whatever. I vastly underestimated the field I was with. I should have been way further out to the edge than in the middle where I put myself, because it was a floating start, and I got murdered. I got and you all understand, I'm a very confident swimmer. I got murdered out there. It was ridiculous. I mean, if I was back in college, I could have taken all those. If I was back in my day, I'd take on this whippersnapper. No, I could have smoked most of those guys if I was back in college. 10 years removed? No. That was not good. That was the hardest 200 yards I have ever swam in my life. Completely threw off my race day. But I didn't get lapped in the bike, so I was able to finish the race. That was my triumph of the day. I didn't get lapped on the bike. I totally thought I was going to get lapped on the bike. I cut it close. I was dead last on the bike, but I didn't get lapped. That's all I cared about. So, if you're in the back on the swim on the starting line, you're going to add maybe 3-4 seconds onto your overall time, but what you're going to save yourself is a whole lot of white water. You're going to save yourself a lot of white water. And if you're a strong swimmer, get to the front of that line. Get to the front of that line. Don't be shy about it. Get to the front of the line. Like, for instance, when I did Crystal Cove last year, Pacific Coast Tri Crystal Cove, I pushed myself to the front of the line. I was the first one to the buoy. And then I made the right turn, and then as I was getting to the buoy, I had one person pass me who was a female elite. And I was like, okay, you can pass me. You're good. And then as I rounded the buoy, I had a second person pass me. So I was confident in my abilities, and I was able to back them up. So kind of understand what field you're swimming with. A good way to do that, honestly, is get your swim time and then check to see who did what the year before. You know, what was the fastest time? What was the slowest time? So if you do that, you know what your swim time is. You can kind of figure out in the pecking order where you want to be. Because also trying to swim over a bunch of people really sucks. It's not cool. Because typically, unless you're really, really proficient at sighting, you're not going to know you're behind someone until you're right on their butt. And that's not cool. It's really not cool to play piano on people's toes. Just fair warning. So yeah, so that's another one that you need to know. How to deal with problems. How to deal with problems, how to deal with leaky goggles, having the tooltips necessary in order to combat those problems. So next episode, I'll actually do a tooltip episode. I've done this episode before, but it's been a while. So I'm going to give you a bunch of tips that you can do on race day for common race day problems. That'll come in the next episode. But have backup strategies in place just in case something goes wrong. I'm going to give you a lot of stuff to think about next week, but have backup strategies. So just in case something goes wrong, if you get a cramp, what do you do? If your goggles fill up with water, what do you do? You swallow a buttload of water, what do you do? So have those things in place before you start the race so you know exactly what you're going to do when something usually inevitably goes wrong. So that's another way to increase race day confidence, get rid of those race day jitters. And last but not least is do races. The more races you do, the more confident you're going to get. What I suggest is set up some mock races. If you only do like maybe 1 or 2 races a year, what I recommend is setting up some mock races. Get a buddy of yours, get a couple buddies and say, hey, look, I want to set up a mock triathlon race, okay? So it's going to be more of a ultimate brick workout. But what you're going to do is you're going to run through all 3 events. You're going to have an abbreviated course. You know, like if you train for full distance Ironman, set up maybe 1,000-yard swim. You know, even if you do it at the pool. Even if you do it at the pool, you're going to start at the pool, you're going to swim 1,000 yards, hop out, run to your bike, do that kind of stuff. Have your bikes in the car, just get your bike out of the car, get your stuff on, then go do that. So set it up to where it's a friendly competition. person who loses has to buy donuts or something like that. Make something up that'll take within an hour and a half to 2 hours to do. So it's light, it's fun, it's a little competition. If you could actually set up a legitimate transition area, even better. But the more races you do, the more you're going to get accustomed to doing it. Back when we were kids, we would just enter every event we possibly could. Even though I wasn't a breaststroker, my parents would enter me in the 100 breaststroke. They would enter me in the 200 IM. They would enter me in the 1,000. They would enter me in as many races as I possibly could every single meet, just so I had more opportunities to get up and race. And over time, it got to the point where, like I said earlier in the video, I was racing against full-blown Olympians. Like Aaron Pearsall already had a silver medal at the Sydney, Australia Games by the time he was a junior in high school. I swam against that guy at every major club meet I swam at. So I got used to swimming against top tier competition. It's the same pool. It's the same 25 yards. You have your own lane. So for me, I was able to, really tamp down my not tamp down my expectations, but actually more of tamp down my anxieties and blah, blah, blah about racing against top tier people because I did it so much. So many kids in high school, they're like, I'm so scared. I'm so scared of my first competition. Wait, your first? You've been swimming club for like 3 years. Yeah, my parents never made me do any competitions because they thought competitions were scary and blah, blah, blah. That's not going to cut it. You want to get better at competitions, you got to do competitions. There's just no way around it. So those are my tips for how to set your training expectations and how to combat race day jitters. If you've got any other ones that you can think of, please leave them in the comments. I'm got to get out of here. I got to get ready for my day. Thank you all so much for tuning in. I do apologize for the yawns and the mind-blankedness. Like I said, right now we're going through a pretty big heat wave. So, I don't want to stream at night because it doesn't get cold, it doesn't get cool down at night, and being out here and it's 90 degrees, it's really uncomfortable. The insulation really helps, but it's still way too hot. So thank you for listening in this morning. If you're watching this on Facebook, please tell your friends about this stream, especially other Team Zooters, so they can watch and hopefully get some good tips. If you're watching, please leave comments. And just remember, I still do stroke technique videos. If you want me to do a stroke technique video, shoot me an email, theferal@gmail.com, DM me on Facebook. I would love to review your stroke. I do this free of charge, although I do ask for donations. And it's a pay what you want kind of a system. I use the money to fund my own triathlon endeavors, as well as buy some milkshakes for the kids, which I'm probably going to buy the milkshakes after practice tonight. That's a hot one today. So yeah, thank you all so much for allowing me to help you get faster. Thank you, Mark Goddard with Team Zoot, for giving me the platform to be able to do this. My personal next race, I will be down in Mesa, Arizona on September 24th doing the Mesa Sprint Triathlon. I got a bunch of BYU swammer buddies that live in the area, so a couple of us are going to do it together. So if you're going to be down at that race, I'd love to meet you. I'd love to get to know more people on Team Zoo that live in different regions. Also, remember, with the virtual stroke technique, I'm totally cool with doing your friends. You got any friends that want it, recommend me. I would love to help anyone and everyone that I possibly can. And that's it for the stream today. So thank you all so much for tuning in. Keep training, keep everything up. And until later, good night, Isaiah Norris. Wherever you are, I'm out of here. Goodbye, everyone. Goodbye. Woo!